Welcome back to another Edgework Series preview, and today we're going to be breaking down the New York Rangers Washington Capitals first round series here. Matt Alber's President's Trophy winning New York Rangers, the team that he has been telling us all season long is carrying the Vezina candidate, carrying the Hart Trophy candidate. Well, it's going to be put to test here with a big series price in the first round against the Washington Capitals. We see the Rangers right now minus 460, the Caps plus 366. And as far as these two teams, the season history has gone, obviously not indicative of what might go on in this first round. But I mean, Nick, as far as you've seen these two teams playing this season, 2-2 this year, does that matter at all going into the first round? How do you feel that they match up? And where are your thoughts on where we're seeing this price right now on these two teams?
It's weird because divisional matchups, it really varies sport to sport, whether you want to carry what happened in the regular season into the playoffs. We've seen historically in football that if you beat a team twice in the regular season, they almost never win in the playoffs. So the fact that it's 2-2 is interesting. You got to look at the context of when some of those games happened. One of those Rangers-Washington games was, I believe, right before the deadline when they were dealing with defensive issues where they were missing both Lindgren and Trouba. So you want to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt there, where Washington kind of throttled them, just full out came out and stomped them. I think it was a Saturday matinee game on ESPN, if I remember correctly. But talent-wise, this isn't close. You would take probably 5 Rangers before you would take the first Capital if you were parsing this out player by player in a snake draft like this was gym class. Washington has been stubborn. Charlie Lindgren is more than capable of making this a series. I don't see a world where, barring disaster, the Rangers aren't in control here. You go under the hood, you look at the special teams, you look at the 5-on-5 play. The Rangers aren't great at 5-on-5, but Washington is actively bad at 5-on-5. There's a real clear gap. This is one of the bigger talent disparities we've probably seen. I mean, I was talking about it with someone earlier today. This Washington team genuinely might be the worst team to make the playoffs since like the 2010 Canadiens. It's remarkable they even made it to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the gaps we've seen now between the Hurricanes and the Islanders. We're looking at this one where it's another big price between the Rangers and the Capitals. Matt, you're our resident Russell, that is, disgusting brother here on the show, a guy who's not afraid to hit some of these big plus money prices.
Right.
And we talked about the fact that this might be one of those series where it could be a disgusting opportunity, but just based on matchup and the fact that I think, as Nick said, we've kind of all declared them maybe the worst team here as well. Is that going to lend it to you to say, hey, I'll get involved in this one?
You know, I don't think so. It's close. The problem is the matchup. It's actually kind of the reverse of the Islanders Hurricanes matchup for me a little bit, where it's like I wanted to back the Islanders in a first round series, and then all of a sudden, it's the Hurricanes coming around the corner, right? And sorry, gentlemen, I was looking to fade the Rangers in a first round playoff series, and then it's only the Capitals coming around the corner, right? So everything that Nick said is correct, where it's just like, man, I got to be backing the Caps if I'm looking to get weird in this series. Like, I don't like that. I will say, if anybody's listened to our Hurricanes and Islanders preview, So Money did a really nice sort of soliloquy on, it's Stanley Cup playoffs, right? The team that is never supposed to be there always manages to kind of, show out and maybe even pull off an upset and, all that sort of thing. And he was applying that logic to the Islanders. I said, well, excuse me, the Capitals are the team that has no business being in the playoffs, right? So I can't rule that out conceptually. The guys are right about, Lindgren. He's obviously played a lot better lately. My point being with liking the Capitals, at least conceptually, more than the Islanders, is they have been playing do or die, right to the death hockey here down the stretch, right? Obviously in that, Channel 9 newsroom fist fight of a 4-team race for the last playoff spot. So I don't think anybody's got a trident. I know Alex Ovechkin just watched Nick say that he wouldn't be in the top 5 drafted in a gym class pick'em here. I know he's not thrilled about that. People are ready to start throwing around Coach of the Year awards to the Capitals coach, but it's like, you know what kind of turned the thing for Washington was Alex Ovechkin becoming Alex Ovechkin again, right? You guys will remember, like, before Christmas, the guy could barely score, and then all of a sudden he was firing him in left, right, and center, end up with yet another 30-goal season. So puncher's chance for Washington, like, kind of like the price, but honestly, I need a little bit more with the price. I mean, even just looking at game one, I think we're still under plus 200 for game one. Like, I need like a plus 210 to get weird with the Capitals. So, like, we're close. And honestly, I can see it getting to that number by the time they play. But we still need to get to that number for me to get truly weird with this series.
And Alber, this is the team you've been backing all year, telling us to watch out for. You're expecting some type of Leafs-Rangers conference preview, but you got to get through the Caps here first.
Yeah, I mean, first, just to kind of touch on that price, like, I think the only way you're really getting up there is if, like, Filipino's back for game one. And then you'll kind of see that number maybe climb a little bit. Outside of that, like, I don't know if it's going to climb that much, because as much as the market hates the Caps, like, the market doesn't love the Rangers this year, obviously. Just looking at the matchup, right? Like, when you kind of have these 1 versus 8, whatever you want to call it, like top team versus last team in matchups, like, the thing I always look for in them is, like, does the lesser team do something that can make the top team uncomfortable? And an example I kind of think of is like last year, where the Bruins wanted to play 3-1 every game, 3-1, 2-1 every single night. And the Panthers come out here just playing this wild, crazy style of hockey. Every game is 6-4, 6-5. Like, the Bruins were visibly uncomfortable playing that series, especially near the end, right? Like, those just weren't the style of games that they wanted to be in. And it's like, when you kind of looked over the last couple of weeks at who the Rangers' opponents might be, like the Penguins, we've seen what Crosby did to Mika back when Mika was playing a lot better than what he was now. They could have made the Rangers very uncomfortable. You look at the Flyers, like, I think the Rangers won 3 out of 4 against the Flyers this year, if I'm correct, but like, the Flyers easily could have won 3 of those games. Like, the Flyers played the Rangers really tight in all of those games. Like the Islanders play the Rangers tight all the time. Like, even Detroit could kind of get into some of these games that makes you a little uncomfortable. The Capitals just don't do that. And it's like, I forget which one of them touched on it, but like, as bad as the Rangers are 5-on-5, the Caps are even worse. So it's like, you kind of look for what is the path for the Capitals to do this? And it's like, unless it's just a scorching power play or Charlie Lindgren goes nuclear, like, I just don't. This isn't the matchup that I see like, okay, this probably gives them some trouble. They just kind of play right into the Rangers' hands here, honestly.
All right, well, let's get into some of the best bets that we could take for this series. Obviously, we're just in terms of series price, who's going to win outright. Doesn't seem like anyone's really going to have that much interest unless maybe Matt at some point over the next couple of days wakes up and says, screw it, I'll get disgusting. But outside of that, it's not really going to be there. Nick, if you're going to look at this one from a betting perspective, is there an angle that you're taking that you're going to get involved with here?
I would be going game by game if I really wanted to, because I feel like, to Matt's point, if the Capitals are going to make a series of this, they're going to have to muck it up. This is going to be disgusting hockey if the Capitals are going to make this a series. It is going to be after the whistle shenanigans, trying to bait the Rangers into stupid penalties, which the Rangers are prone to take. They do have a couple guys who love getting their sticks up high. They love taking offensive zone penalties in situations that don't call for it. But outright on the series, no. You would, like Matt said, you'd need something else. You would need something to drive the price a little bit more, because even with the stark price you're getting for Washington, it's not appetizing. Like, if the Capitals are going to win this series, you're going to be puckering your butt for 7 games. There's no way the Capitals win this series in less than 7 games. And you really want to go against the team that just won the President's Trophy for 7 straight games?
Yeah, it doesn't really sound that fun, truthfully. I don't know, Matt, if you have Russell, if you have a different perspective on this.
Not necessarily. It's when it comes to a best bet, like, I'm absolutely going to kind of dip my toe into it conceptually being a closer series. I'm going to go over 5.5 games for the total in the series, right? And that's me sort of I'll put it this way, right? Like if I find a tiny bit of value in the series price, which I do because the number is big, it's just, I have the right to not bet that, right? Just because plus 340 is, technically a price to bet doesn't mean I have to do it. But it does indicate that like there might be a derivative to that I will find valuable. And in this case, over 5.5 is where I'm going to sort of go with that, thinking that the Capitals can at least get this to 6. Hopefully we don't have to replay Nick's clip when the Capitals win in 5, and I somehow have supported the Capitals and lost my bet at the same time. Yeah. So let's keep our fingers crossed that things don't get super weird in that case. But listen, it's the Stanley Cup playoffs, man. Like who knows? But yeah, literally, I would be probably fading the Rangers against any of the other 3 teams that had they got in, because like the guy said, like at least those other teams do something notably well. Like the Red Wings had the best power play conversion rate plus even strength high danger chance conversion rate in the entire league. It's what kept them afloat. When they shot the puck, it went into the net. Whether that was sustainable or not, listen, it was sustainable for 82 games, could have been sustainable for 6 or 7 more. Who knows? But at least that would be something that you'd have to be like, okay, like guess we're dealing with this team. Capitals are below average in that category, right? Whereas the Rangers above average. Obviously, Rangers have the goaltender that's more likely to get scorching hot. So like, it's not even a scenario where it's like, going up against a Colorado or a Dallas at this point where you're like, man, I'm not really sure about the goaltending. Like you could make the case that the opponent the lower seeded opponent could have the better goaltender. And even with Lindgren playing really, really well and, being, arguably the main reason that they made the playoffs in the first place, he's still not better than Shesterkin or has not been playing better than Shesterkin. That's how good Shesterkin has been down the stretch run here, basically, the last 2/3 of the season or so. So yeah, best I can do for Capitals fans out there is an over 5.5 games. You can find that around -110, sort of the best price available.
And finally, to conclude the best bet segment of this series preview, Albert, what do you got for us between the Rangers and the Caps?
Yeah, so I am on Rangers in 6 plus 350. I think you look at it right, and it's like I don't think necessarily they're going to struggle in this series, but I do see it being a lot of 2-1, 3-2, like very kind of closer on the scoreboard than necessarily the game is played type games, which is weird kind of when you're saying the Rangers. Like I almost kind of see it where maybe the Rangers control play and the game's actually closer than the scoreboard because, well, just about every other team in the league, it's the other way around. But this is just the matchup, right? You kind of look at it and you're like, yeah, you think that Lindgren probably maybe helps them steal one. Maybe they win one back at home or something, and this ends up going to 6, and the Rangers make it a little harder than it actually should be because that's what the Rangers do every year against every team. So yeah, I'm looking at them to win in 6 plus 350. I would have liked a little bit better of a number on them to win in 5, frankly. But honestly, like I kind of agree with the game by game standpoint of like I do think this is going to be like a pretty low scoring series. Like I do anticipate being on a lot of unders in this series. I know Zach, we were talking about that yesterday. Like
yeah,
I don't know. It's one that's like it's hard to see like a total doomsday scenario here, but at the same time, like I don't think they're just going to sweep them like that. That's kind of out of the realm for me. So yeah, that's what I got here.
All right, well, let's close this one off with our predictions. We've done it for every round. We'll do it for every single series that we do. Doesn't matter. We take these analytical perspectives. You take the numbers, our betting, how we're going to approach it that way. We're just going to kind of remove some of that. Just go straight up. How do you think that this one's going to play out? Who's going to win and in how many games? Nick, we'll start with you.
Rangers in 5.
There you go. Matt Russell?
For the content and the Edgework chat, Capitals in 6.
Oh, Capitals in 6.
And in spirit of Zach taking the Predators in the Canucks Predators preview, which was
right. I see.
Which is an absolutely spiteful move. So yeah, I'll do the same.
We're gonna come back to that one about the Canucks Predators later. Rangers in 5 too. I think it's a lot of close games that end up being Rangers in 5 in a series that's closer than it actually ends up being on the scoreboard.
I'm gonna go Rangers in 5 as well. Rangers 4-1. I think that this Capitals team stinks, and I think that the Rangers are going to expose that. But I think that there's just going to be one game where the Rangers kind of don't. I don't know, maybe they don't show up, or maybe it's just a bad luck type of game where it just doesn't bounce their way and the Capitals get something and it's 2-1 and we walk away and go, nah, I don't think they deserve to win that one. And then outside of that, the Rangers just say, let's get this over with. No more messing around. We're not going to play with our food, and on to the second round. So that's how I anticipate that. But I appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. Nick, thank you for hopping on here. Both Matts, thank you guys for taking the time as always. We'll have more series previews and predictions right here on this channel. So if you want to see those, make sure to subscribe here, turn on notifications so you don't miss any of them, as well as like this video. And on top of that, the most important thing, drop your predictions in the comments below. We want to see what you guys think about what's going to happen in this series, how you see it playing out, and what maybe your best bets are. So thanks to everyone who tuned in. We look forward to seeing you all in more Edgework series previews, predictions, and best bets.